Char star strcpy takes a destination pointer to char and a source pointer to constant char. It copies the character array beginning at source, including the terminating null character, into the array that starts at destination. Both parameters are pointers to the first element of a C-style string. The function returns the original value of destination so you can chain calls. Char star strcat takes a destination pointer to char and a source pointer to constant char. It appends source to the end of destination. It first finds the null character in destination, then copies all characters from source, including its null, starting at that location. Returns destination. Int strcmp takes two constant char pointers, s1 and s2. It compares two strings lexicographically. It walks both strings in parallel until a differing character or a null is found. Returns 0 if strings are identical, a negative value if the first differing character in S1 has a smaller ASCII value than that in S2, and a positive value otherwise. Dest must point to a modifiable array large enough to hold the result. It must not be constant. SRC is read only, the function never writes to it. All three functions expect null-terminated strings. That is a byte with value 0 that marks the end. Char source array initialized with hello, which occupies 6 bytes including the null character. Char destination array of size 10. strcpy copies source into destination. Now destination holds hello. strcat appends space world to destination. Now destination holds hello space world. Int cmp assigned result of strcmp comparing destination with hello space world. cmp equals 0. Return value semantics and their use in conditional expressions. strcpy and strcat return a pointer to the destination array char star. Because the pointer is never null on a successful call, the return value is usually ignored. But it allows idioms like print %s strcpy buff abc prints abc. strcmp returns an int that directly encodes the ordering relationship. This makes it perfect for if statements like if strcmp a b equals 0 then a and b are exactly the same, else if strcmp a b less than 0 then a comes before b alphabetically, else a comes after b. The sign of the result, less than 0 equal to 0 greater than 0, is all you need. The actual magnitude is not defined and should not be used. In C, any non-zero integer evaluates to true, thus you can write concise code like if strcmp cmd quit then true. When cmd is not quit, this works because strcmp returns 0 for equality false, and a non-zero value otherwise true. Be careful, relying on the exact sign can be unsafe on some exotic platforms, but the standard guarantees the sign relationship. The pointer return values of strcpy and strcat can also be used as conditionals to check for a null pointer when a custom wrapper that returns null on error is employed, though the standard library itself never returns null. Key takeaway: strcmp signed integer result is the only one that carries useful information for branching. strcpy and strcat mainly give you the destination address for convenience. All three functions walk through characters until they hit a null terminator, so their cost depends on the length of the strings involved. strcpy with parameters dest and src. Let n equal the length of src plus 1. The plus 1 accounts for the terminating null character. The algorithm performs a single loop. While the dereferenced dest after increment equals the dereferenced src after increment and is not the null character. It executes n assignments and n comparisons. Hence the time complexity is big O of n mathematically, T sub strcpy of n equals c times n, where c is a constant representing the cost of each copy and test step. strcat with parameters dest and src. First it scans dest to find its null character. Let that length be m equal to the length of dest. Then it copies src including its null character. Again, n equals the length of src plus 1 steps. Total work equals m plus n, therefore T sub strcat of m and n equals c sub 1 times m plus c sub 2 times n, which is big O of m plus n. If dest already contains a long string, the cost of locating the n dominates. strcmp with parameters s1 and s2. The function compares character by character until a mismatch or the end of either string. In the worst case, the strings are identical, so it scans the full length of the shorter string. K equals the minimum of the length of S1 and the length of S2 plus the final null character. Thus, T sub strcmp of k equals c times open parenthesis k plus 1 close parenthesis, which is big O of k. Best case complexity is big O of 1 when the first characters differ. Why these are linear, no nested loops or recursion are used, each character is examined at most once. This linearity is why these functions are fast enough for everyday use, but also why a missing null terminator can cause the loop to run indefinitely, turning the linear bound into an unpredictable runtime. Buffer size calculation and null terminator requirements. When using strcpy or strcat, you must guarantee that the destination array can hold all characters, including the terminating \0. Formula for strcpy: if source is a literal or a variable, let L equal the length of source. Required size for destination is size of destination greater than or equal to L plus 1. The plus 1 accounts for the null terminator. Formula for strcat: let M equal the length of the string already stored in destination, and L equal the length of source. After concatenation, the resulting string length is M plus L, hence size of destination greater than or equal to M plus L plus 1. Practical example. Char dest open bracket 20 close bracket semicolon allocate 20 bytes. strcpy open bracket dest, comma quote hello quote close bracket semicolon needs 6 bytes 5 plus \0 OK. strcat open bracket dest, comma quote world exclamation quote close bracket semicolon M equals 5 L equals 6 needs 5 plus 6 plus 1 equals 12 bytes OK. Dest now holds quote hello world exclamation quote 12 bytes total. If we later try strcat with a long addition, the needed size becomes 12 plus 24 plus 1 equals 37, which exceeds the 20-byte buffer overflow occurs. Null terminator rule: every C string must end with a byte of value 0. Functions that rely on this sentinel will keep reading memory until they happen to encounter a 0. Therefore, when you allocate a buffer, always initialize it to \0 brace, or call memset of buffer, 0, size of buffer close parenthesis if you plan to use strcat. After manual manipulation, for example using pointer arithmetic, explicitly write destination. Open bracket new length close bracket equals \0 semicolon. Quick sanity check: size of buffer gives the total bytes allocated. Always compare size of buffer against required equals needed length plus 1 before calling strcpy or strcat. Undefined behavior scenarios. strcpy of dest and src and strcat of dest and src assume the source and destination arrays do not overlap. If they do, the copying loop may read a byte that has already been overwritten, leading to corrupted data. Character buffer of size 10 is initialized with the string 12345. Buffer holds 12345 null terminator. Then strcpy of buffer plus 2 and buffer, causing overlap where destination starts inside source. Use memove for overlapping memory because it guarantees correct handling. Passing a destination array that is smaller than the needed length, including the null terminator, causes buffer overflow, which is undefined behavior. The overflow may overwrite other variables, return addresses, or cause a segmentation fault. Character tiny of size 3. Then strcpy of tiny and the string ABCD. This needs 5 bytes, only 3 provided, resulting in undefined behavior. If src or s1 or s2 for strcmp lacks a terminating null character, the function will continue reading past the intended array, accessing random memory until a 0 byte is incidentally found. It can lead to reading uninitialized memory, which is a potential security leak, or crashing if it reads an unmapped page. Character array of size 5 initialized with A, B, C, D, E without a null terminator. Then strcpy of buffer and array, which results in undefined behavior as the function walks off the end of the array. How to avoid undefined behavior. Always ensure destination capacity with the formulas from the previous topic. Never pass overlapping pointers to strcpy or strcat. Guarantee that every source string is properly null terminated, for example by using string literals, snprint, or explicitly writing src at length equals null character after manual fills. Consider safer alternatives such as strncpy and strcat that let you limit the number of characters copied, though they have their own quirks because they may not null terminate automatically. Comparison with safer variants strncpy, strcat, strcmp. Exam-focused differentiation. Purpose: simple copy concatenation, full comparison. Copy or concatenate up to n characters, compare only first n characters. Parameter list: strcpy dest src, strcat dest src, strcmp s1 s2. strncpy dest srcn, strrencat dest srcn, strncmp s1 s2n. Null terminator handling guarantees a terminating null character provided destination is large enough. strncpy does not automatically add null character if source length is greater than or equal to n. Caller must add it manually. strrencat always writes a null character after the copied characters. Safety mechanism: none. You must calculate buffer size yourself. The n argument caps the number of characters read or written, reducing risk of overflow. Common pitfall: forgetting buffer size leads to overflow. Using strncpy without adding null character results in strings that appear not terminated, causing later undefined behavior. Return value: pointer to destination for strcpy and strcat, or signed integer for strcmp. Same as their unsafe counterparts, strncpy and strrencat return destination, strncmp returns integer. Typical exam question: write a function that copies a user-entered string into a buffer of size 20 using strcpy and describe what must be checked before the call. Explain why strncpy dest src20 may still produce a non-terminated string and show how to fix it. Key exam points to remember. 1. strncpy silent truncation. If source length is greater than or equal to n, the result contains exactly n characters without a null character. You must set destination index n-1 to null character. 2. strrencat's n meaning. It appends at most n characters plus a terminating null character. The destination must have space for length of destination plus n plus 1. 3. strncmp, useful for prefix checks. For example, does a command start with get? Returns 0 when the first n characters are identical, irrespective of what follows. When answering exam questions, explicitly state these behavioral differences. They are a frequent source of marks. Explanation: typical examination questions and model answers. Question: write code to safely copy a user-provided string input into a buffer buff 50 using strcpy. Explain any checks you perform. Declare character array buff of size 50. If the length of input plus 1 is greater than the size of buff, then print input too long to standard error and exit with failure. Then copy input into buff using strcpy. Explanation: strlen of input gives the number of characters before the null character. Adding 1 accounts for the terminator. The comparison guarantees the destination can hold the entire source. Question: what will the following code print? Explain why. Declare character array initialized with ABC. Declare character array B of size 5 initialized with ob. Concatenate a onto B, print the string B followed by a new line. It prints a babc. B initially contains ob with a null terminator length 2. strcat finds the null after ob and copies the whole string including its null, resulting in a babc with a null terminator. The buffer size 5 is sufficient because the final length is 5, but the implicit terminator makes 6, which actually overflows the array. Therefore, the program exhibits undefined behavior. On many systems it will still show a babc, but it has written past the allocated memory. Question: using strcmp, write a conditional that executes a block only when the variable cmd equals the literal quit case sensitive. If strcmp of cmd and quit equals 0, then execute block where cmd is exactly quit and exit with status 0. Explanation: strcmp returns 0 only when the strings match completely. Comparing to 0 is the required idiom. Question: explain the difference in behavior between strncpy dest src4 and strcpy dest src when src is the string hello. strcpy copies all 5 characters plus the terminating null character, requiring a destination of at least 6 bytes. strncpy copies only the first 4 characters hell and does not append a null because the source length 5 is greater than the limit 4. The resulting destination contains hell followed by whatever byte happened to be in destination index 4. To make it a proper C string, you must manually set destination index 4 to null. Question: derive the big O of strcat when concatenating a 100-character string onto a destination that already holds 200 characters. Finding the end of the destination takes 200 steps. Copying the source takes 100 plus 1 steps, including the null terminator. Total operations approximately 200 plus 101 equals 301, which is linear in the sum of the lengths. Hence, big O of m plus n equals O of 300 equals O of n, where n is the total number of characters processed. These sample questions cover typical topics: safety checks, understanding of return values, buffer size reasoning, and complexity analysis, all common in programming for problem-solving exams. Explanation: role of strcpy, strcat, strcmp in classic string processing algorithms. A simple palindrome test can be built by copying the original string, reversing it with strcpy/strcat, and then comparing. The function is _palindrome, takes a constant character pointer s, computes its length, creates a temporary buffer rev, initializes it empty, loops from the last character down to the first, creates a 1-character temporary string, concatenates it to rev, and finally returns true if strcmp of s and rev equals 0, indicating the string is a palindrome. When sorting an array of strings, strcmp is used as the comparator. The comparator function cmp receives 2 generic pointers, casts them to pointers to constant character pointers, dereferences them, and returns the result of strcmp. The qsort routine then uses this comparator to arrange the words in alphabetical order based on the sign of the return value. To build a comma-separated values line, start with an empty buffer line. For each field, if it is not the first field, concatenate a comma, then concatenate the field content. After the loop, the line contains something like John, 25, engineer. For command line argument parsing, iterate over the arguments starting at index 1, compare each argument with the string -v using strcmp. And if the comparison returns 0, set the verbose flag to true. A naive tokenizer copies a substring of the source into a token buffer using strncpy, then explicitly adds a null terminator at the length position to ensure proper string termination. In summary, strcpy and strcat are the workhorses for building new strings, while strcmp is the decision maker that tells you whether 2 strings are equal or which one comes first. Knowing their exact behavior, especially how they handle the null terminator, lets you implement classic algorithms correctly and reason about their correctness in written answers.